Hey guys, and welcome back to a hybrid May-June monthly favourites. I didn't actually film a May favourites. Most of you will know why if you've been watching my vlogs, but I've had a bit of a crappy month, and to be honest, I just wasn't up for filming when it was time to film May favourites, so I kind of just missed it. And I also didn't have that many products to talk about, whereas I feel like combining 2 months together I have a lot more products that I want to talk about. So I've got a few like beauty and hair and body things to talk about, and then a couple of books and a TV show as well. So starting off, let's start off with makeup because it's the one I always start with. I only have one favourite makeup product this month. Everything else is kind of existing favourites that you guys have heard about before. These have just been launched. They're the Fenty Beauty Slip Shine Sheer Shiny Lipsticks. These are absolutely divine. The texture of them. They actually remind me of a lipstick that Avon had right way back when, at the beginning of when I first started doing YouTube. I probably spoke about them around like 2010. They were super cheap. These ones aren't that cheap, but they're that similar kind of texture where they feel like a really rich balm. They have a kind of mid-level pigmentation to them. They're very, very soft, hence they're in this bullet. So if you want to keep it like super, super low, because it will like just come off. They're very, very buttery, but they have like a mid-level of pigmentation. So if you see there, it's not super, super sheer, but it's definitely still like a tint rather than being a lip balm. You know what I mean? It's not a tinted lip balm, it's still a lipstick. They taste like vanilla. They stay on as well. That's the other thing, in comparison to a lot of kind of sheer or glossy finished lipsticks. They're not like a super glossy gloss finish, but they're shiny and they stay on. They're like a little bit tacky but not sticky. They're just divine. Like the easiest everyday lip product. The packaging is also really beautiful. As per usual with Fenty, I feel like Fenty nail their packaging and have done since the beginning. I really like this. It feels very compact and kind of petite in your hand. And the colour that I like is Retro Rose. There's also a mauvey one, which is slightly deeper. They sent me these, by the way. I think they sent me the full range. I believe there's 10. Maybe they didn't send me 10, maybe they sent me about 8 of them. But there's 2 that are kind of like up my street, the mid nudie, mauvey kind of tones. And then there's some brighter ones, some darker ones. And then I think there's like a sheer lip balmy one as well, with a slight like glitter to it. But there's this one and then there's a mauvey one, which are gorgeous. And I love them both. But this is probably my favourite, which is Retro Rose. Love that. Really, really nice new release from Fenty. And I feel like I haven't tried a lot of Fenty products in a while. When it launched, I bought a load. When it launched in Harvey Nichols, I bought a load of the stuff. Loved it. And then I feel like since then, a lot of the launches have been quite out there in terms of colour, glitter. Like, they've been, like, you know, really, really red lipstick. They haven't been as kind of neutral. But I feel like these are really, like, easy to wear everyday product and fit really nicely into that like base range that they launched with. So really excited to have tried that. Love it. That's it for makeup. I've got one hair favourite this month, which is a weird product, okay, but it's really good. This was a recommendation from my friend Bella, who is one of the only people that's like a real life friend but is as obsessed with makeup as me. Most of my friends aren't really into makeup and beauty and hair and skincare and stuff, but Bella is, and she always gives me the best recommendations. This is Kerastase K Water. It's the weirdest treatment. It's like I think it's a professional treatment actually. It says professional concentration, but you can buy it online. It is literally like water texture. It's obviously not water. It does something more than water, but it works as a conditioner. So it says high shine, lightweight, fluid hair, lamella resurfacing treatment, rinse out, and then as you can see, like most of the wordings come off the back, but essentially you use this after shampooing. I actually use it after shampooing and conditioning, as like a kind of final like gloss step, and it just really helps to kind of smooth everything, especially if, like me, you've got quite dry, frazzled, heat damaged, bleach damaged hair, colour damaged hair, and you want like an extra treatment. This is really nice, and it is not heavy at all. It's super lightweight, obviously because it's that water texture. It doesn't have that heaviness that a lot of the kind of balmy masks will have. So you get, adding this into my routine basically gives me another level of conditioning, but without any extra weight. Really big fan of this. As you can see, I've used quite a lot. This is probably 10 uses, so I say there's maybe like 25 uses in this carton. It's very weird to apply because it's very thin, like water. I feel like it would be a lot easier if someone else was doing it for you. So if you had it like a salon treatment, it would be easier. But I like put some in my palm and kind of like focus on the ends of my hair. But it is weird because it is so watery. It's like hard to get on your hair. Anyway, that is that. Another thing that's a favourite, this is actually a new one, is the VICHY Ideal Soleil Solar Protective Water. This is not new. I've mentioned this a lot over the past, I think it's been out for 2 years now, maybe even 3, but I've spoken about it before. It's definitely been in monthly favourites in previous years, but since it has been really sunny in May and June, I wanted to include this because I've been through about 3 bottles of this. This is a new one. It's also not as in it's just come out, but like this is, I've only used it today. This is the antioxidant version. This is probably my least favourite. They do an enhanced tan version, there's a really loud plane going over. I'm hoping you can't hear that. They do an enhanced tan version, a hydrating version with hyaluronic acid, which is my favourite, and then this one's the antioxidant one. But they're all amazing. The thing that is so brilliant about them is that they're not like sun cream. They don't feel like sun cream, but they still give you high protection. So this is SPF 30. You shake them up and they literally, it's like water. You can just mist them on. And I don't necessarily, this isn't like necessarily my favourite sun cream for like all day use, because what I tend to do is put on one of the kind of like all day sun creams in the morning if I'm going to be outside all day. If I'm just popping outside, you know, and I'm not in the sun all day, I'll just use this on its own. But basically, if I use like an all day sun cream, I'll just top up with this throughout the day, and it means that you don't have, like, literally you don't really have to rub it. I rub it in so it's just like not wet. It smells divine. You don't have to like rub it in. It's not messy, it's not greasy, it doesn't get on your clothes and be all like gross. It's just super convenient and just lovely, and I've never burnt with it or anything. So it doesn't feel like it should give you that much protection because it is so thin, but it works. The other thing that I'm a big fan of is a new deodorant. Super sexy topic here, but you know, we all need it, especially when it's hot. I've used Mitchum for years, and I usually use I either use their gel one or their stick one like this. And they've just launched the natural versions of these. So this is the Mitchum Natural Power. This is the coconut scented one. I got given a couple of these when they launched. They sent me the men's one, which Mike hasn't actually used. I just saved it for me because he uses spray because he's got hairy armpits. I always wonder that. Anyone else? How does stick deodorant work if you're a man and you have hairy armpits, or if you're a girl and you have hairy armpits? Like, if you don't shave under your armpits, a stick deodorant, I mean, it's just gonna, I don't know. Anyway, Mike doesn't use it, so I've taken his. This is way TMI. Anyway, this is the natural version of Mitchum. It works, I would say, just as well, but to be fair, like, if you are going at it in the gym, like, you're still gonna sweat a bit, but in terms of like controlling any smells and controlling day-to-day normal sweat, it's really good. I think the original is probably slightly better in terms of that, but being like a not super sweaty person, this works absolutely fine for me. It has no aluminium in it and it's 96% natural, so I would always go for this over the less natural version if the natural version works. And that's the problem. In the past, I found that natural deodorant isn't necessarily very effective, whereas, I mean, I thought Mitchum would do it because basically they rock at deodorant. The one thing I would say, please Mitchum, get rid of this plastic packaging and do something better with it. You're obviously aware that you want to do like natural deodorant, and this is like, it's a lot of plastic for a deodorant. I feel like there's got to be a refill. There's got to be a refill option for this, or cardboard, better recyclable. I think this is recyclable, but anyway, it's a lot of plastic for deodorant. But it's good if you're looking for a natural alternative to a deodorant and it actually works. That is good. And then last but not least, for the product recommendation, again, nothing new, but it's just launched. We can't go on holiday this summer. Well, we might be able to at the end of the summer, but at the moment, you know, we're chilling in England, but we can still smell like we're on holiday because the Estee Lauder Bronze Goddess perfume, which is limited edition every year, is back. This literally smells like a holiday. It smells like the beach. It's just divine. It's so warm and light and fresh and summery, and just, it's gorgeous and sophisticated. If you haven't smelt Bronze Goddess before, I would thoroughly recommend it. And it's back this year in this very chic packaging. They've also launched an azure version, which I think is a little bit older and not for me. The original and the best is back. So that is it for products. In terms of other stuff that I've been enjoying this month, I've been doing a lot of reading, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have, in the wake of Black Lives Matter and everything that's been going on over the past few months in the world. And I've been absorbing a lot on social media and putting a lot out on my Instagram. If you guys haven't seen, I have highlights with all of my favourite kind of Black Lives Matter resources saved on there. Anyway, so I've been reading and audiobooking. Disclaimer here, I very, very rarely actually read books anymore because having River, and especially at the moment because she's not back at nursery yet, that's a whole other topic of conversation, but I haven't sent her back to nursery yet. I've still got her here with me. The only time I ever really get to read is by listening, either whilst I'm cleaning or whilst I'm driving, or obviously I'm not driving that much anymore either at the moment, but on the rare occasion I have been in a car, whilst I'm driving, or in the evenings if I'm just kind of tidying up, if I'm cooking, things like that. So I do tend to go for audiobooks more. So when I say I've read these, I've listened to the audiobook. Yes. Anyway, so the books that I have chosen to read over the past month, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie. I'm going to get the names wrong because I'm useless. It's not Remy, it's Rennie Edo-Lodge, I believe. Yes, Rennie Edo-Lodge. And which is massive bestseller. I've actually had this book for, I think it came out 3 years ago. It's either 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Anyway, a lot of my friends were reading it when it first came out. I bought it, meant to read it, never got around to it, and I wish I had. I really enjoyed that. It's a lot more kind of educational than some of the others, but really, really informative, and it goes a lot into history, and yeah, so that's brilliant. I would thoroughly recommend that if you're looking to do your own kind of reading and educate yourself around Black history and why this Black Lives Matter movement has happened and why it's happened now and why it's so important that we all learn about it. That's a really good place to start, and I know that's a place a lot of people have started. And then I've also read I'm Not Your Baby Mother by Candice Brathwaite, and I really enjoyed that. I'd say that's my favourite of the 3 books that I've read. And I wasn't, like, I didn't know what to expect from it because I'm not a big fan of, like, mummy books. Like, I would never normally read a mummy book. I don't know why, I just feel like I feel like a lot of mummy books are quite complainy in the sense of mothering, but anyway, with this, I hope you know what I mean. With this one, I actually found it really brilliant, both in terms of educating and enlightening me from a racial perspective of what Candice, it's kind of like it is like a memoir for her, but so interesting, of what Candice has been through, and also some of the challenges that black mums in the UK face versus being a white mum like me. That was so interesting, but I also really related to Candice in a whole lot of other ways as well, because she works in the industry that I work in, so it almost, she's an Instagrammer, social media blogger lady. She's more of a kind of like mum and fashion rather than beauty, but she's kind of in the same space, and I've been at a few events where she's been, but I've never actually met her. Anyway, so that's like the background on why I found it really interesting as well, because it kind of talks from a different perspective of the industry that I work in, and it was enlightening for me. So I really enjoyed that. My sister actually read that and she said she really enjoyed it as well. She doesn't work with me, so I feel like it's interesting to a lot of people. It's really good. Really recommend it. And she narrates the audiobook as well, and she's really good at it. And I always, that's the one thing I really don't like it, if it's a kind of memoir, autobiography, and the author isn't narrating it, because I feel like, not necessarily I really don't like it, but as in I think it's a real accolade when the author is narrating anything that's kind of memoir, autobiography, because it is so much more personal and you feel like you're actually connecting with them. Anyway, that was brilliant, and I would thoroughly recommend that. It's my favourite. And then the third one I've read this month, which is probably my least favourite, is Queenie, which is another one that's been recommended loads and loads, and that's actually fiction. And I think the reason why I didn't like it as much as the other two is because I'm not really that into reading fiction that is about like real life scenarios. It sounds so weird, because why not, right? But whenever I read fiction, it's always more kind of supernatural or like thriller or something like that. It's a little bit more like detached from real life. If I want something that's real life, I want to read like non-fiction, if you get what I mean. I hope that like comes across the way it's meant to, because it is a good book and I did enjoy it, but it's not like my bag, if you get what I mean. So they're the 3 books that I've read this month, and would thoroughly recommend all of them, but for different reasons. And I hope that makes sense in terms of if you like more kind of factual history type books on the non-fiction side, the first one. If you like more kind of relatable but still non-fiction, Candice's book is great. And if you like fiction and you still want to learn a little bit, and it's in the same genre and it's to do with Black Lives Matter, and you want to kind of educate yourself on all things about race in the UK specifically, that's the other thing I like about these 3 books, is they're very like British and like UK based. Anyway, I hope that came across right. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, because like, you know, you don't want to like say the wrong thing or whatever, but if you are looking to do some reading, as I know a lot of you are, they're the 3 books I've read and I would recommend. And the other thing that I would recommend watching, and this was supposed to be in my May favourites, I actually watched it right at the beginning of May, I think, when it first came out, way before everything kind of kicked off around Black Lives Matter and before George Floyd's murder. I watched Little Fires Everywhere, and I think it came out a few weeks before that in the States. Actually, really sadly, the director, I don't know whether she directed the entire series, but she definitely directed a number of episodes, passed away around the time that it launched in the UK. Anyway, and I saw Reese Witherspoon, who stars in it and produces it, tweet about that happening, and then obviously looked into the series more and found out it was about to launch, watched it. Is it on Netflix or is it on Amazon Prime? I think it's on Amazon Prime. But I would really recommend it. If you watched Big Little Lies, it's obviously also stars Reese Witherspoon as a fairly similar kind of character. It's also an adaptation of a book, if you've read the book. My mum says the book is better than the series, I think. My mum's done both, but I haven't read the book. But I really enjoyed it, and it actually like has a lot of race-related topics and issues and conversations going on in the series, and it is like really relevant to everything that is happening over the past that has been happening over the past couple of months. But weirdly enough, I watched it before that, right when it first came out, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Kerry Washington is brilliant. Reese Witherspoon is brilliant. She is like love to hate. Obviously, like, I feel like Reese Witherspoon is a very lovable like person, but she plays a really irritating character. And yeah, it's I just really loved it, and I thought all of the young actors in it were brilliant as well. So yes, love that. Another thing that I would recommend is a kids film that we watched with River this month, which is Onward. I think this was actually either out or coming out of the cinema right when lockdown first happened. Anyway, we bought it on iTunes or wherever. Mike does it, some technical stuff on our TV, because it's not Disney, so it's not on Disney Plus, but it's really good. It's a really heartwarming story. It's really funny. You know, like some kids films that adults can watch and love and kids can watch and love. It's one of those, like Trolls. I feel like Trolls for me was like that as well. Sorry, my camera totally ran out of battery there and I just had to run downstairs and get a fresh one. But another one that I really recommend, I'm really out of breath now. That's bad. Another one that I really recommend that just launched on, I think, Netflix. This one's Netflix. This month is Ugly Dolls, which I hadn't seen. Presumably this was quite a big film because the cast is insane. It's got like Lizzo and like all sorts of people in it. That's another one that I recommend if you're looking for something to watch with your kids. I thought it was really cute. I really enjoyed it. So that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a lovely month. I'll be back next month with my July favourites this year. At least 2020 is going fast, okay? Like, it might have been the worst year ever. Pretty much, right? But at least it seems to be going quickly for some crazy reason. I am gonna go, but lots of love to you all, and I hope you're all really well. Bye, guys.